Villisca axe murders. There are places in America where the past refuses to die, where the walls remember every scream, every cry, and every drop of blood spilled in the dark. One such place lies quietly in a small Iowa town, a place once called home, now known only by the horror that happened there. The town of Villisca, Iowa, in 1912, was the picture of safety, a tight-knit community where neighbors trusted one another and children played freely in the streets. It was the kind of town where nothing bad ever happened until it did. It was Sunday, June 9th. His wife Sarah and their 4 children were attending the end-of-year Children's Day program at their local Presbyterian church. With them were 2 little girls, Lena and Heinous Stillinger, friends of the Moore children who were invited to sleep over that night. They walked home as the sun dipped beneath the horizon, the sky painted in warm golden streaks. Inside the house on 508 East 2nd Street, everything felt normal. Laughter echoed down the hallway. The children said their prayers, candles were blown out, and one by one, they all fell asleep, unaware that it would be for the last time. Sometime after midnight, the killer came. Whether he was already inside, hiding in the attic, or crept in silently as they slept, no one knows for sure. But what is certain is what he did next. Using Josiah Moore's own axe, the intruder started with Josiah and Sarah striking them repeatedly as they slept. The blows were merciless, inhuman, as if rage itself was behind every swing. The killer then moved into the children's room, where Herman, Catherine, Boyd, and Paul lay sleeping. He butchered them without hesitation. No screams, no signs of struggle. The house remained silent as a tomb. Then he turned his attention to the guest room. Lena and Ina Stillinger, 2 innocent girls only 8 and 12 years old, met the same fate. It was later suggested that Lena may have awoken in those final seconds, but by then it was far too late. 8 people murdered in their sleep, in cold blood, with an axe. But here's what chills even the most hardened detectives. The killer didn't leave. He stayed in the house, moving slowly from room to room. He covered the mirrors, as if ashamed to face himself. He placed a piece of raw bacon on the floor next to the murder weapon, for reasons that no one could ever explain. He made himself a plate of food and left it untouched on the table. He even washed his hands in a bowl of bloody water. He moved like he had time, like he wasn't afraid, like he belonged there. By morning, not a soul had stirred from the Moore house. The blinds remained closed. No children came outside to play. Concerned, a neighbor knocked on the front door. No response. She called Josiah's brother, who arrived with a spare key. He opened the front door, and what he found inside would scar him forever. Bodies, blood, silence. The stench of death so thick it clung to the walls. A town that once knew only peace now had a monster among them. News of the murders exploded across the Midwest. Reporters descended on Villisca, swarming the tiny town with questions, rumors, and fear. Locals locked their doors for the first time in generations. The word trust began to crumble. Suspicion poisoned the air. Everyone had a theory. Everyone had a suspect, but no one had answers. Reverend George Kelly was the name most often whispered in the dark. A traveling preacher with a strange past. Kelly had been in town that night. He left early the next morning, heading for another revival meeting in a different city. Days later, he confessed to the murders, describing the killings in disturbing detail, but then recanted. The police weren't sure what to believe. Was he mad, guilty, or just seeking attention? He was tried twice, once ending in a hung jury. The second, acquitted. No conviction. No justice, no closure. Other suspects came and went. A man Josiah had business conflicts with, a traveling serial killer. Even the idea of a cult, theories, but no proof. And as years passed, the whispers continued. But the house itself seemed to remember. The Villisca Axe murder house still stands today, frozen in time. The children's room looks untouched. The attic remains dark. The stairs creak just the same. Those who dare stay the night off and report whispers in empty hallways. Doors opening and closing on their own. Shadows that vanish when approached. Some guests say they hear children crying. Others report pressure on their chest as they sleep. Many don't last until dawn. Even hardened paranormal investigators have fled too disturbed to finish their stay. People say the house is cursed, that something stayed behind that night, long after the bodies were removed. Something that still wanders the halls, something that feeds on silence, shadows, and fear. Some believe the spirits of the Moore family remain trapped, lost, confused, waiting for justice that never came. Others believe the killer brought something far darker into that home, something not of this world. And the most terrifying truth we'll never really know. Over a century later, the Villisca axe murders remain one of the most chilling, unsolved cases in American history. A town's innocence shattered in a single night. A mystery that has never been solved. And a home that still holds its breath in the dark. If this story chilled you, if the silence of that house still echoes in your mind, then hit that like button to honor the memory of the victims.